There's something definitely walking around out there. I don't know what it is though.
This thing was every bit of 9 feet tall. Okay. And that is no lie. Every bit of 9 feet tall. Because we were all standing there, and we were all standing there with our jaws dropped open looking at this thing. We couldn't believe it. We were amazed. Anyways, it went down, all of us, and got back on our motorcycles, and we started to turn around and go back down where we came in at, where it was, and it was gone like that. I mean, it was gone.
Okay, so tonight, guys, this is the camping spot. From this tree to this tree, we've got some nice overhanging branches that are gonna keep us nice and hidden away. You don't very often get people down here. I have no worries of seeing anybody because it's quite remote where I am, but it's always better to be safe than sorry. Lily's living her best life, and I kind of want to get cracked on. So right now, I'm just going to get the hammock out, the tarp up, and get everything in order. Okay, so I've cleared all the floor. The reason I do that is because you can guarantee as soon as you get set up in camp, something will fall out your pocket, you'll empty your kit, you'll lose something, and when you've got all this debris on the floor, it's an absolute nightmare to try and find anything. So I always just like to make a perimeter, and what's in that perimeter is my camp. Yeah, it's nice. I've cleared this beautiful space out. I've got some natural shelter from this tree. Obviously I've got the tarp as well, should it rain, because it has been on and off pretty much for the last few days, but natural shelter is always a helping hand, and I'm gonna take that wherever I can. So now that camp is set up, there's camp, there is only one thing left to do, and that is lure in any curious, intrigued, bipedal, freakish looking, tall, creepy, undiscovered, unexplainable, mysterious cryptids that may be in the area. And the way we do that is with a Native American flute. Now, we all know that the Native Americans have massive ties, huge links to cryptids, right? Bigfoot being one of them. Now, I have noticed something while playing this flute, and this is really, really bizarre. But whenever I play the flute, shortly after there is a buzzard, like a huge buzzard above. And if that's curious enough to make its way in, then who knows what else is. Who do you think you are? Huh? Who do you think you are lying on that log like that? Beautiful girl. Beautiful girl. Yes, I'm talking to you. I was just thinking about sound frequencies. We've heard scientists talk about this all the time, about how everything in this planet, or everything, sorry, on this planet, but in our world, is a frequency, it's a vibration. And everything is vibrating at a different speed, a different resonance. The Egyptians were fascinated by this. In fact, the Egyptians built huge sound chambers within the pyramids themselves that would only resonate the spiritual frequency of 432 hertz.
It seems that the chambers in the pyramids are harmonically tuned to a specific frequency or musical tone. Sound healing techniques were used to restore the patient's body to the correct harmonic within.
Now, my flute is 440 hertz. I have got one on order for 432 hertz, which is known as the spiritual frequency. For some reason, us humans are just drawn to that frequency. When we hear it, it feels like home. It's like a comforting, warm feeling. And the weird thing about consciousness is that consciousness can hear sound when there is no sound. Like, my mouth emits sound when I speak, and that's how I hear myself speak, because there's been a frequency released and the ears pick up that frequency, right? But when I'm talking in my own head, this has done nothing. Like, I've not spoke any vocal words. There is no frequency or vibration that's been released. Yet I hear myself speaking. Sound and vibration is a weird thing in itself. Like, we don't understand fully everything there is to know about sound and how it works and how it affects or impacts the world around us. We just know that it was very important to a lot of ancient civilizations that came before us. And if it was good enough for them, it's good enough for me. That was pretty terrifying. So I had gas, I had the spark, but no ignition. So I was moving the little spark igniter around where the gas comes out of, and what I thought was happening. So basically the spark was not in contact with the holes where the gas comes out. It was kind of just hitting the frame, if that makes sense. So I was trying to tweak the igniter, and then I'd put more gas on, I'd keep clicking, waiting for it to ignite. And I was just about to give up hope. I cranked the gas up a little bit more, moved the igniter slightly a bit to the left, clicked. I was like, Jesus Christ. Luckily, I can boil some water now, which means we're on for coffee.
Well, I was 34 years old. I never believed in the subject at all. I thought people like that were crazy, right? You know, we're taught that way. Somehow, somewhere growing up, we're taught UFO people are crazy. And, you know, I woke up 4 o'clock one morning, standing outside, you know, and I thought maybe I sleptwalk. My left shoulder was facing my front door and my right shoulder was facing a dead-end street. So I remember being confused. I could have gotten run over, and I see this glow, you know, off to my right, and I turn to look, and it's like this 40-foot diameter orange glowing sphere just over the street, not in the sky, above the street. But this thing was so bright, it could have lit up the whole neighborhood. But it was self-contained. It didn't light up the ground underneath it.
So I was out yesterday. I'd gone out to go make a video. I've had a lot of really strange reports coming in. Really strange reports, in fact. And the weird thing about these reports is that they coincide with the wildfires that we're experiencing here in the UK. So up on the North Yorkshire moors, Obviously, it's moorland, and there is a lot of wild grass and heather. And during the summer months, when all that is really dry, it just takes one individual to drive through, toss a glass bottle out of their car, and then along comes a sunny day, and the sun's rays hit this glass bottle at the right angle, and whoosh, it all goes up into a blaze. So the firefighters have been up on the moors for the last 6 days trying to tackle this blaze. The smoke has drifted over an 80-mile radius. And from what I was reading yesterday, they're saying that some of the terrain will never recover. It'll never be the same again. You can only imagine what impact that's had on wildlife. And if it's anything to go by, reading the articles that I was reading yesterday, some of them have really badly been hit by these fires. But what I'm interested in is the reports. I've had a massive influx in reports from around that area. Now, is it misidentification? It's always a possibility. It's always a possibility that people are seeing things out in the open now, and maybe they're not familiar with seeing these particular types of creatures out in the open, because usually they're hiding away in the heather, in the grassland. But it also makes me think, if there is a huge blaze, if there is huge wildfires, and it's taken, I think it was like over 500,000 or 1 million gallons of water that they've used in 5 days to try and tackle this blaze, that is a huge fire, right? That's a lot of devastation, a lot of damage, and for many species, that is their whole world turned upside down. Now, people have been emailing me. One email in particular really stands out, of a guy seeing something on 2 feet, tall, slender, running across the scorched earth. Now, you know, I'm not speculating here, I'm just throwing things out there. If there was a fire that wiped out a certain creature's habitat, it would flee in the hopes that more habitat would be somewhere else to be found, meaning that it would have to cross the open terrain. Hence why people are now seeing these things leaving the area. Now, I have to, as an investigator, think to myself, you know, is that local wildlife? Is that creatures that are known, that are quite common, struggling and fleeing the scene in terror? Or has these fires uprooted something else that is yet to be discovered, yet to be understood? I don't know. But what I do know is that yesterday I went out to go investigate because I was super excited. I know that's a really weird term to use given the circumstances, but I was excited to get boots on the ground and try and see, you know, if anything has been thrown out of its comfort zone, if anything has been forced further afield and is now reaching the public domain. As it was, the fires, believe it or not, were harder to find than I had imagined. I thought I'd head up to the moors, I would, you know, follow the scent of the smoke, which has been really, really bad for the last few days. Thick smog, and it would be quite simple. Nope, not that simple. It seemed like every time I put it into Google Maps or Waze, which is another navigational app that I use, it was directing me away from the fires. And in fact, when you try to Google where it started or where it was now, it was very limited in terms of information. So I'm not sure whether they've done that on purpose to keep people away, or the signal was just bad and, you know, things wasn't loading the way that they should have been. I don't know, but I couldn't manage to find the specific epicenter, let's just say, of where the fires were. Now, another thing to remember, or another thing worth mentioning, is that where these fires started is in a place called Langdale. Very, very, very close to RAF Fylingdales. For any of you old-timers here on the channel, you will know all too well about RAF Fylingdales. It's the top secret military base owned by the US, based here in the UK. And their motto is Vigilamus, which when translated means, damn, what does it mean? We are watching, that's right, we are watching. So very creepy, very ominous motto to have for a top secret base that is shrouded in weird reports to start with. Then we have these huge fires breaking out almost on the doorstep of RA Filingdales. And along with that, strange reports of cryptids running out into the open, being exposed and spotted by locals. I need to get up to there as soon as possible. Yesterday was a washout, like I've said, I couldn't do it. I managed to film a little bit, and that video is still coming. But in terms of getting boots on the ground, actually in the epicenter of the scorched earth where all this took place, I haven't done that yet. I might never be able to do that yet, depending on what the kind of restrictions are up there. They might have it cordoned off, they might have closed certain roads, I don't know. I can't get close enough to it just yet, but I'm desperate and eager to investigate more, especially after these reports are coming. So yeah, guys, I've made enough posts, I think, already talking about this, but I have a WhatsApp number. It's a business line, so it's not my personal number, but it's still me. You guys will still be in my contacts. I'll be able to WhatsApp you whenever I want. You guys add me. I'll leave my number somewhere on the screen now, and then hopefully the plan is we can turn this into some kind of a community, you know, first response. So that'd be cool. You can all share your stories through audio messaging, through text. You can share pictures, videos, whatever it may be. And nobody else can see your messages or our conversation, which is also handy because I know that a lot of people are very protective. You know, they're very cautious over sharing this information or their experiences with other people. But I feel like I've earned the trust of you guys over all these years, and this would be a one-on-one thing. I might start a few community, I think you can do that on WhatsApp. I might start a few community groups in the WhatsApp chat itself where we can all speak openly and freely at any time throughout the day or night. But then obviously, when you want, there is the option to have a one-on-one conversation with me, share your information, share your stories and experiences as well. So yeah, please do add me on WhatsApp. It's no extra charge, you know, you're not paying any more than what you would be doing if you were sending a message to a friend on WhatsApp. So yeah. Where have you been? Where have you been? Why do we never have like articulated lorries here in the UK or the 18-wheelers over in the US? You know, these truck drivers that spend a hell of a lot of their working life on the road, all hours through the day and night. Why do we never have any of them hitting one of these creatures, sticking it on the back of the trailer or a part of it on the back of the trailer and being like, hey guys, this is what I found. They do exist. And who would have guessed? This is how we've come to prove it. By me hitting it at 3 o'clock in the morning, trying to cross the road. We've never had that, right? We've had a load of stories. These long distance lorry drivers come forward and, you know, they tell us of these weird close calls that they've had. But the debunkers will always say that that was just sleep deprivation. You've been on the road too long, you're tired, your eyes and your mind will start playing tricks. I don't want that. I don't want to leave any room for debunking. I want to see a real creature brought in to be investigated, dissected and proven. Yeah, and it's always fascinated me that that's never happened. That's never happened. Unless, of course, it has happened, but the powers that be get to the lorry driver first. And that could be a possibility, right? Because I've speculated for years now that I'm not sure how, but I'm definitely certain that these people in higher up places know where these creatures, UFOs, extraterrestrials are going to show up. I truly believe that. I don't know how they're doing that. Have they got them tagged? Is there a map that specifically picks out their signature, their chemical signature? And lo and behold, a few minutes later, the men in black show up. I don't know how they're doing it, but it always seems to be the case. Whenever there is a sighting, very eerily soon after, people of authority show up and start throwing their weight around, telling people to be quiet or they'll go missing. Their children will never see another day at school. You name it, I've heard all kinds of threats and bullying tactics put towards witnesses, so that wouldn't surprise me either. There's a slight haze just drifting in now. And every now and then there's this fine covering, this fine mist that keeps sweeping through in intervals. So like all of a sudden you will be blind because the light hits this thick mist and it reflects back and you can hardly see anything. And then all of a sudden it clears again and you can see right into the forest. So very, very creepy at this point. I thought I heard talking about 2 minutes ago. Literally froze dead in my tracks. I was about to press record and start talking, and I heard what sounded distinctively like two males in conversation. So I quickly tipped my torch up and stuck the bulb end into the ground to kill any of the light. I don't want nobody seeing me out here because, for as far as I'm concerned, there should be no other idiots out this far into the country other than me at this time of night. I've sat and waited in silence for about 5-10 minutes. I've not heard anything since, so I'm kind of hoping that it was maybe some misidentification. Maybe it was the rustling of the tarp or some of these branches on top of the material. I'm not sure, but yeah, it did really freak me out because it sounded like two really close male voices. Sorry, I'm just listening out. You know, this place in the daytime, as with any place in the daytime, is a completely different world. It's like, excuse the pun, night and day. Maybe that's where the saying comes from. Because in the daytime, these areas feel very wide and open, spacious. But come nighttime, everything feels really closed in and claustrophobic. Our senses also at nighttime as well become our worst enemy. Every snap of a stick, every hoot of an owl becomes something from our nightmares. It is literally drilled in us to be at our most primitive when it's nighttime. Our senses go through the roof. Our brain is working overtime and trying to fill in gaps that maybe aren't even there. And some of the times we might even be scaring ourselves for no reason whatsoever. That's just our brain's way of saying, look, it might be something, it might not be something, but I want you to feel like it is so that you respond and get out of this situation that's making me feel uneasy. That's the brain. That's what the brain's thinking. I constantly have a mantra that I try and repeatedly say over and over in my head, and that is that there is nothing here in the night that wasn't here in the day. And I keep trying to remind myself that, but the minute that is brought into question, the minute you hear something that you haven't heard during the day, or you see something that you've never seen before during the day, you can forget about being calm. You can forget about keeping your composure. That's long gone. But before I see anything, it's the only way I can get out of here. It's the only way I can talk myself into doing this by myself. Another key point to mention as well is that when I first picked out this camp spot, the reason I picked here was because of all these overhanging, low-laying limbs on the tree. And I thought, logically, well, if it rains, I've got natural cover. But the flip side to that is that now all these low-laying limbs are whacking on the side of the tarp. They're rustling across the ground. The rain's hitting off them from all different directions around me. And it's just really sending me into a state of anxiety, because you can't see more than 3 meters in front of you where I am. But the leaves are out there touching the floor. And it sounds like there's noises coming in from all different directions. So what seemed like a good idea in the day, terrible at night. Especially when trying to keep you calm, trying to keep you cool. There's something definitely walking around out there. I don't know what it is though. The one thing I hear is when I hear the wind blowing and there's leaves running across the floor, there's sticks snapping, and then there's rain and drizzle hitting off all these thousands, if not millions of leaves. It's difficult to zone in to anything beyond that noise. And that makes you feel very, very vulnerable, because if something is walking out or walking around out there, if something is trying to creep up closer, all those different sounds camouflage that movement, camouflage that whatever it is. Some of the most popular or more interesting, believable UFO encounters, paranormal encounters, cryptid encounters do happen under the cover of darkness. Now, is that because they like to move in stealth? They like to use this blanket as cover? I don't know. But just to try and tie in these wildfires that I've been talking to you guys about today, if there is any kind of, cryptid or strange phenomena or creature that's out there that's been seen walking across the open fields because its habitat has been destroyed, then this is the time to move. This is the time that those kind of creatures, cryptids, would be on the move, nighttime. That seems to be the way for any predator, natural or unnatural. I don't know how that makes me feel, given the fact that I'm sat on the forest floor in the pitch black, all by myself. But I knew what I signed up for when I got into this whole YouTube thing and documenting my investigations. I knew what I signed up for. And sometimes it's not pleasant, like tonight. There's going to be some people watching this, and naturally they're going to be thinking, why though? Like, why would you put yourself in this situation? If it's not enjoyable, if it creates panic and anxiety, you heard that right? There was some definite, deep walking footsteps. That was legit. That was 100% walking. I'm not saying it was something weird. It could have been an animal, but whatever it was a It was a large animal. And it didn't seem fazed by this torch or me talking. The cadence, the walking, the gait maintained the same speed, heading in the same direction. Which is what I think freaked me out, because I thought if it was a deer, all hell would have broke loose and it would be off through the trees. But this thing was just walking casually. That was definitely footsteps. I don't care what my brain is trying to tell me, that was footsteps. What's ironic is before I was interrupted, before I was disturbed by this noise over to my right, what I was about to say was, some people will be asking why I'm doing this if it conjures up all these horrible emotions, these feelings. And to be honest, the truth is, I even ask myself the same question. But the reality is, if there's ever going to be any evidence or answers brought forward, then it's likely to be during the night, boots on the ground, in the areas where most sightings are reported. There's no way around it. You can sit at home, you can do all the research you want on your computer. But the harsh reality of it is, you have to be here firsthand. That's really, really knocked me, whatever that noise was. There's definitely something out there, guys, and I'm not even bullshitting you right now. I just went for a little walk, only about 10-15 meters away from the camp. But it felt like something was matching my footsteps. Now, I'm not saying that this is something weird. I'm not. Please don't think that. I'm just documenting what I'm feeling and what I've experienced. If it's a deer, it's the bravest deer I've ever seen out in the wild. Because it wasn't trying to get away from me. And it certainly wasn't in a rush or a hurry to leave this area. Do you want to hear something really messed up? I feel, and I know this is a really weird thing to say, but I really want to do some research on this area where I've set up camp. Because to me, I'm getting some serious paranormal vibes. I'm not going to lie. Now, here on the North Yorkshire Moors, there are countless ancient burial mounds. It wouldn't surprise me at all if I've stupidly picked a location close by to one of those mounds. I'm usually really intuitive, like I'm really in tune with my surroundings, people's emotions, feelings. If someone's got an ulterior motive, I will pick that out immediately. I'm really in tune with things like that. And this to me feels paranormal. Not something that I really document that much on the channel. But it's definitely got that thick atmospheric energy right now, where the air feels charged. I can't explain it. If you've lived through the paranormal, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But that was someone definitely walking through the woods. No question about it. 2 feet, heavy, didn't stop, didn't slow down or speed up, carried on walking in the same direction. Nobody there. As of always, I have to wait till I get back tomorrow to listen carefully if those footsteps were picked up. It wouldn't surprise me if they wasn't, because the terrain underfoot is leaves. It's like mushy leaves. But I certainly 100% heard that. There is definitely voices as well. 100% voices. Males. Every now and then there is a conversation between 2 males. I am not bullshitting. It's not happening all the time. That's the weird thing. I'm trying to listen in, trying to zone my my hearing throughout all this noise that's going on around me, the leaves, the trees, the sticks and everything else. But even still, with all that going on, it's distinctive. I can hear it. It's just not prolonged enough for me to pinpoint where it's coming from, or how far, or how close. This is going to be a creepy night, guys, and I don't think I'm going to get much sleep at all, if any. So I've been awake a few hours now. I've had some breakfast, made a coffee, packed my things away, just left the hammock and tarp up before I head back to the car. And I'm just lying here, thinking back over last night, because there was a hell of a lot of noises. The voices that I thought I heard last night, I'm pretty much more confident now than ever. As I was trying to drift off, I definitely heard, again, maybe 2 or 3 more times after, the sounds of 2 males in conversation. I have no idea what they was talking about. There was no real clarity or raising pitch or laughter or emotional cues to this conversation. But there was definitely a male-to-male conversation taking place. I laid here for a good 4 or 5 minutes. It would stop, it would start, and it followed the flow, the natural flow of a conversation as it would. So, and it didn't seem that far away either. I tried to tell myself that maybe it was Lily's lead. Lily's got an extendable lead, and sometimes when the lead itself pulls out of the mechanism, it gives like a kind of a sound. I don't know how. I was trying to convince myself that that's what it was, but anyway, it helped me relax a little bit. I know it wasn't that. It wasn't that because I was watching Lily. I had eyes on Lil. I was watching her lie there perfectly still. The lead wasn't moving. But somewhere in my anxious mind, I found comfort from thinking it was that, at least for a little while. Strange how I came here, because it's a hot spot for UFOs, extraterrestrials, and cryptids, and for me it felt more paranormal. I never expected that. But just because it felt more paranormal doesn't mean it was. In fact, all these phenomena could be tied. They could all be linked anyway, so sometimes the cryptid phenomenon might feel extraterrestrial, and so on and so forth. It was an awesome night though, full of creepy vibes. I made it through the night, thank God. I am getting quite cold now though, underneath the hammock and things. Now I've packed everything away. But as always, guys, it's been completely awesome to bring you all out with me and spend the night chatting away and sharing a few of these thoughts and ideas. Wherever you are in the world, guys, whatever you're doing, please do look after yourselves. If you're in a position to do so, please do look after somebody else as well. And as always, please do stay safe. Take it easy, guys, and until next time, I'll see you on the next one.
The events happening here in the UK are not isolated. They connect across places, across people, and across time. What we cover here on the channel is only a fragment of a much larger picture. The patterns are there for those who are brave enough to look, but the truth does not reveal itself so easily. I'll continue searching, and when the next piece emerges, you guys will hear all about it here first. Until then, stay aware, stay tuned, and remember that the unexplained isn't waiting for permission to be seen.